Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to find a nice, comfortable seated position where our spine and back of our neck can sit nice and long and tall, opening up our chest and opening up our diaphragm and opening up our heart. Gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. And soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or a phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is pause and replenish. Winter is a time to honor the natural stillness of the outer world and give ourselves permission to pause and replenish. There's a Scandinavian word, Hygge, that speaks to that intention. It describes a mood or feeling of coziness and well-being. It's taking time away from the daily rush, especially after the holidays, to be together with people you care about, or even by yourself, so you can relax and enjoy life's quieter pleasures. Consider Hygge a coziness of the soul, focusing on simple pleasures such as soup cooking on a stove, snuggling in and reading a good book, playing board games, walks in nature. This time of year, it's great without mosquitoes. And then having lots and lots of candlelight. For this morning's breathing technique, the Pranayama, I'd like to have us do Kumbhaka, which focuses on the natural pause between the inhalation and the exhalation. In expanding the natural pause, the body and mind become still and clear. So how we do this would be to have our natural breath, and hopefully it's the complete breath where it's, or three-part breath, where it's coming from your stomach, up through your ribs, up to your chest, and back again. So with the complete breath, at the top of the inhale, you would pause for a count. Could be 1, 2, whatever you're comfortable with, just pause. And then on the bottom of the exhalation, you would pause again. A lot of people enjoy a pranayama called box breath, and that would be even count. So you'd even count, inhale up 4, pause for a count of 4, exhale to a count of 4, and pause for a count of 4. And that's up to you. But if you just inhale and pause for a count of, say, 2 to 3, and then exhale and pause for a count of 2 to 3. that'd be great. So we're going to do that once I get into on the mat for our meditation. And for our meditation actually is all about pausing and replenishing. And you're just being still, and that pause of meditation just replenishes your soul, your spirit, your well-being, basically. And when you're doing meditation for that pause and replenish, it would be nice to have elements of Hygge around you. So maybe adding to your meditation some candlelight, soft music. Aromatherapy is a good one. So there's a cedar sandalwood blend that would be nice for grounding, or lavender for relaxation. That would be adding that Hygge element to your meditation. So I'm going to go to the mat. We'll just do a few moments of meditation. And if you'd like to have that pause on the inhale and exhale, please do so at your convenience. That sounded really weird, sorry. You may open your eyes now. We'll start this morning with our asana practice with a little bit of shoulder shrugging, just kind of relaxing our shoulders, any tension that we may have from the week or last couple of days. Just kind of relax your shoulders. And then counterclockwise, inhaling up and then exhaling down. Trying to find that ease in the movement, not building up any additional tension. Trying to reverse that process. Maybe just a few more minutes in the other direction. And then relax. Bringing our fingertips to our side, we're going to inhale, lifting our hands up overhead. Big inhale. You can pause if you wish. And then exhale, slowly bringing your hands down. And then pause again. Inhale. And pause. And exhale. And pause. Inhale, lifting your hands up. And pause. Exhale, slowly bringing your hands down. And pause. One last time. Inhale, lifting your hands up. And pause. And exhale, slowly bringing them back down. And pause. I have my right leg in front of my left leg, not crossed at the ankles, just side by side. We're going to do a seated forward fold. So we're going to walk our hands out slowly. And you get to that spot where you listen to your breath. And once it is at the spot where it's starting to get a little shallow, that would be your sweet spot, and you can stop there. And just breathe into it, relaxing on the exhale. And then walk your hands over to the right side so that your torso is almost, or if it can make it that far, over your right thigh. And then we'll walk our hands back. And this time we're just going to place our left hand on our right knee and bring our right fingertips behind us, leaving our knee down. Twisting our torso to the right. And my lights are flickering, so if we lose power, the class is over. And then bring your torso back to center. And place your right fingertips on the mat beside you, lifting your left arm up alongside your ear. Then we're going to do a seated side stretch. So with the right fingertips on the mat, we're going to bring the right elbow down toward the mat and tip over to the right side. And giving you that side stretch. And then come back up again on the inhale, excuse me. And then we'll do that one more time. So right fingertips are on the mat, bringing our right elbow down toward the mat, tipping our torso over to the right. And then coming back up. And then we're going to bring our right leg out on a diagonal. So it's coming not straight up, but off on the right, off to the right. And we're going to place the back of our right hand against the inner part of our knee, lifting our left arm again, having it in line with our ear. We're going to slide our right hand down toward our leg and slide it so that you get to that sweet spot again. And then come back up. Now we'll switch legs and do that all on the other side. So I have my left leg alongside of my right leg, in front of me. I'm gonna walk hands out, really paying attention to my breath, monitoring it to see where it starts to get shallow, and then stop, finding our sweet spot. Take some deep inhales and relax on the exhale. And then slowly walk our hands over to the left, perhaps bringing our torso over our left thigh, and then walking our hands back toward us. We're going to bring the right hand to the left knee, and then the left hand behind our hips, twisting our torso to the left. And then we're going to extend our, oh, I forgot the side stretch. Oh, please. Bringing our fingertips, left fingertips to the mat. We're going to bring our right arm up alongside our ear. And then with the fingertips on the mat, we're going to bring the left elbow down toward the mat, tipping our torso over to the left side. And then coming back up again. And we'll do that one more time. Left fingertips are on the mat. Left elbow comes down toward the mat, tipping our torso over to the left. And then back up again. And now you can extend your left leg out on a diagonal. Bring your left hand to the inner part of your left leg. Bring the right arm up again so that it's in line with your ear. And then we're going to slide the left hand down toward the foot. And then again, find that sweet spot. And then come back up. We're going to come up onto our hands and knees, to tabletop. Knees are right below the hips. Wrists are right below the shoulders. Fingers are spread out. Index finger pointing up toward the top of the mat. Nice grip on your fingers onto the mat. Gently pushing down so that you create that space between your shoulders and your ears, evenly distributing the weight in your hands. And then with our gaze facing downward, we're going to turn our head, do some head nods. So turn our head to the right, and then bring it back, and then gently turn it to the left. Bring it back, making sure you keep that pressure in your hands so you keep that space between your ears and your shoulders. Again, turning our head to the right, and then back again, and then turning our head to the left, and back. One more time to the right, and then back, and slowly to the left, and back. We'll go into some cat-cows. So rounding our back on the exhale, dropping our head and our tailbone down, and then bringing our head up so that our gaze goes straight ahead, and our tailbone goes up as well for cow. And then exhaling, rounding our back again, tucking our head down, tail down, chin comes towards the chest. And then inhale, reaching our head up, just sending our gaze straight ahead. Tailbone comes up. Exhale for cat, rounding the back, dropping the head and tail down. Inhale, lifting our head up, sending our gaze straight ahead for cow. And we'll continue to do this for a few moments. Really focusing on synchronizing the movement with your breath. And then come back to tabletop. Bring both knees out to the edges of the mat, bringing our big toes together so they touch. We'll lower our hips down, coming into a wide-legged child's pose, sending our hands toward the front of the mat, sending our forehead, our third eye down to the mat. Nice stretch. And then back pedal our hands, keeping our legs where they are, our knees on the edges of the mat. We're going to do some thread the needle. So you can either have your hips down to your ankles and thread the needle this way, or you can come up to your knees and thread the needle. It's your preference. We'll just send our right arm out to the side and then send it underneath our torso, bringing our right shoulder rather, and our right ear down to the mat. And with our left hand, you can keep it on the mat, or perhaps on your back your hips, or you can send it up to the sky, opening up your chest. And then bring that left hand back down to the mat if it's not there already. Pushing down to the left hand, coming back up. And again, you can either have your hips on your ankles or coming up onto your knees. I think I was kind of halfway between the two, which works as well. I'm going to send my left arm up and then send it underneath my torso over to the right side of the mat, bringing my left shoulder and my left ear down to the mat. And my right hand can be either on the mat or on my tailbone or up in the air, opening up my chest. And then we'll bring the right hand back down to the mat, pushing into the right hand, coming back up, coming back into tabletop, bringing your knees back under your hips. We're going to send our hips back again, down to our ankles, and come into a kneeling position. We'll clasp our fingers behind our backs. So really relax your shoulders, send your hands behind your back, and clasp your fingers. And then instead of us sending our hands out, we're going to send them down. So it's going to open up our chest in a very gentle way. So sending your interlaced fingers down toward your toes, down toward the mat, and just stretching right up in here, opening up that chest even further. So we'll just do a few movements, just kind of at your own pace, lifting up and then pushing down toward your toes and mat. Lifting up, which just kind of releases that bind, and then pushing it back down toward the mat. Lift up, and then back down. Lift up, and then back down. And lift up, and back down again. You can really feel your shoulders opening up here, opening up your chest. And one last time, up, and then back down. We bring our hands back to tabletop. Tuck our toes under and walk our hands back, coming up onto the balls of our feet into a squat, and then push down to come up to mountain pose. So for mountain pose, we're going to lift our toes up off the mat. Sorry, there's a whole flock of starlings out my window right now, attacking the bird feeder. I've never seen that before. I'm going to lift up my toes and spread them as far apart as I can. And then bring the toes back down, lifting up the heels. And then bringing the heels back down and really feeling that connection with the earth, that groundedness, that stability, that support. And then we're going to make sure our legs are nice and straight and strong, gentle bend in our knees. Our navel's tucked to our spine. You can feel our spine get nice and long and tall. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is ever so slightly tucked toward our chest. Crown of our head is reaching up to the sky. We're going to sweep our hands up with a big inhale. And then exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go to support our lower back. And just check in here for a moment. And then bring our hands to our shins, flattening out our back, sending our gaze down for half forward fold. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat and just releasing, relaxing, letting gravity take over for a moment. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead, coming up onto our tippy toes as our hands come up overhead. And then slowly bringing our hands back down as we slowly lower our heels back down in the mat. We'll do this a couple more times. Nice, gentle, controlled movements. Inhale, sweeping our hands up as we come up slowly onto our tippy toes. And then slowly exhale, bringing our hands back down, bringing our heels back down to the mat. And one last time, again, inhale, sweeping up, coming all the way up, 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 up onto our tippy toes. Let's just pause for a moment. And then slowly lower our hands and our heels back down to the mat. And we'll pause here. We'll sweep our hands up overhead again. Big inhale, exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, half forward fold, flat back, gazes straight down. And then exhale, bringing the crown of our head down toward the mat. And breathing into that pose. And then inhale, sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And once they're up overhead, we're going to bend our knees and lower our hips, coming into chair pose. So we're going to keep our hands as high up as we possibly can. Our knees are behind our toes. Hips are coming down toward the mat. Navel's tucked to the spine. And then push up, coming up to standing mountain pose. And we'll do that 2 more times. So just lowering our hips and toward the mat, keeping our knees behind our toes, our navel's tucked to our spine. And then up again. And one last time. Slowly lower with control. And then back up again. And then sweeping our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, half forward fold, flat back. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And with our hands on the mat or on the floor, we're going to have the left hand in front of the left foot. Bend the left knee toward the left arm, keeping the right leg straight, but not locking the knee. And then we'll sweep our right hand all the way up overhead, following our right hand with our gaze, forward fold with a twist. And then we'll bring that back down and place the right hand in front of the right foot. Bend the right knee toward the right arm. Left leg is straight with a gentle bend in the knee. And we'll sweep our left hand all the way up, following our left hand with our gaze. And then bringing that left hand back down again. We'll sweep both our hands all the way up with a big inhale. Bringing our hands over our head. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And palms come to the back of our hips. We'll come into a supported back bend. Our feet are about hip width apart. Palms are on our hips, fingertips pointing down. Elbows are reaching back, sending our shoulders back. Chins tucked toward our chest, so our head doesn't drop back, and then we're going to just drop our shoulders back. Slowly come into that supported back bend. Again, listening to your breath, finding that sweet spot where it's still comfortable, nice even flow of breath. And then come back up. Sorry, I had a hair in my mouth. And then we're going to come into a wide-legged stance, standing up here. So turn to the long edge of your mat, sending your toes to the corners of the mat and tucking your heels in at 45 degrees. Wide-legged stance. And our legs are straight and strong, but with a gentle bend in them. We're going to put our hands on our hips and then just lean forward as if we're in a half forward fold. And then bring our hands to the mat. If you have a block nearby, that might help assist that. And then we're going to walk our hands over to our left foot. And then walk our hands over to our right foot. And then walk our hands back to center. Bend our knees a little bit more, send our hands back to our hips, and then send our torso up straight, coming back into the wide-legged stance. We're going to bring our arms up to a star. And we're going to lower our arms into a goal pose, bending our knees, lowering our hips, coming into goddess. We'll pause here. Then inhale, coming back up to star, and pause here. And then exhale. If you'd like to exhale gently through your mouth, that might be an option to try out here. So coming back to goddess, pause. Inhale to star and pause. Exhale to goddess and pause. Inhale to star and pause. Exhale to goddess and pause. And then back up to star. And we're going to bring our arms down to shoulder height, pivot our feet, bend our left knee into warrior two. We may want to scooch a little to get into it. Your front foot, your knees right over your ankle. You just barely see your big toes over your knee. Back foot's nice and snug, cozy into the mat, that back edge of your right foot. Gently turning your head to look at your left fingertips. We're going to straighten out our front leg as we lift our left hand up to reverse warrior. And pause. And then come back down to warrior two, bending the knee as we go. And pause. Lots of pausing today. And then lifting our hand as we straighten out our front leg. Up and pause. And then lowering our left hand, coming back to warrior two. And pause. And one last time, lifting up, straightening the front leg. And pause. And then come back down to warrior two. We'll bring our left forearm down to our left thigh, sweeping our right hand over, pointing it toward the top of the mat, creating that nice line of energy from our right toes rather, up to our right fingertips. And then bringing our right hand down to the mat, pivoting on our foot, coming into runner's lunge. And sending our left foot back to meet our right foot, coming into plank pose. Navel's tucked to the spine, elevating the hips. And then lowering to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Keeping the elbows tucked to the side. And then once you land, you slide your hands to the front of the mat, come into Sphinx position. Our elbows are right below our shoulders. Fingertips are pointing to the top of the mat. Tops of your feet are nice and snug into the mat, to the point where if you create a little energy in your legs, pushing down in the tops of your feet, your shins and your knees would be off the mat. And even though this is Sphinx pose, I was thinking when I was practicing that this is a pose that I often did either doing a coloring book or reading a book as a child, or sitting in front of the fire. This is actually a pose of children. I don't do this anymore, but I remember doing it as a kid. And then we'll bring our hands right below our shoulders. Elbows are tucked in, and lifting our chin and chest and gently pushing into our hands, coming up into cobra. And then tucking our toes under. We're going to come all the way up to downward dog. You can do that by either going to tabletop first and then downward dog, or straight to downward dog, whichever works best for you. And then pedal out here for a moment. Our arms are nice and straight and strong. Our chest is reaching toward our thighs. Elevate our hip. Take a nice walk out in nature. And as I mentioned, this time of year is great. No mosquitoes. Yay! Or black flies or any other little biting thing. And then we're going to bring our left knee to our left elbow, pushing off with our right toes. And then back again and pedal out. And then bring the left knee to the left toes again. Left elbow, pushing off with the right toes. And then back again to downward dog. Pedal out. And then we're going to bring the left foot between the hands. So inhale, lifting our left leg, bringing it all the way up, coming into runner's lunge. And then we're going to bring our right foot up. So pushing down into our left foot, lift your right foot and bring it side by side with your left foot, coming into forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead, palms come to center for Anjali Mudra. And we'll do that all over again on the other side. So again, we'll come into that wide-legged stance. Toes are pointing to the corners, heels tucked in. Legs are nice and straight, but with a gentle bend in the knee. We bring our arms, our hands to our hips rather, and then gently pivot forward. So we have a nice flat back, half forward fold, keeping our gaze straight down. And then bringing our hands down to the mat or the floor. We'll walk our hands over to the right side. And then back to center. And then walk them over to the left side. And back to center. Bending our knees slightly even more. Bringing our hands back to our hips. And bringing our torso upright. We'll bring our arms up, forming that star shape. And then we're going to bend our knees, lowering our hips, bending our elbows, come into goddess. Exhale, pause. Inhale, back up to star. And pause. Exhale down to goddess. And pause. Inhale back up to star and pause. Exhale down to goddess and pause. Inhale back up to star. And we'll lower our arms to shoulder height. Pivot our feet to the right. So we're bending our right knee over our right ankle. The left foot is nice and snug in the mat. Gently turning our head to look at our right fingertips. And we'll do that warrior dance where we go from reverse warrior back to warrior two. So lifting our arm up, straightening our front leg on the inhale. And then on the exhale, coming back to warrior two. And pause. Inhale up. Straightening the front leg. And pause. Exhale, back to warrior two. And pause. Inhale, straightening the leg, lifting the hand up to the sky. And pause. And then coming back to warrior two. Bringing the right forearm down to the right thigh, sweeping the left hand all the way up and over, creating that nice straight line of energy. And then bringing the left hand all the way down on the mat, pivoting into runner's lunge. Bringing our right foot back to meet our left, coming into plank. And then lowering knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga to the mat, and sliding our hands out to the front of the mat into Sphinx. Our elbows are right below our shoulders. Tops of our feet are nice and snug and pushing down to the mat, creating that energy in our legs. This is a great pose for our lower back. Maybe that's why kids don't have lower back problems. Spending a lot of time in this position. And we'll bring our hands right below our shoulders, lifting our chin and our chest, gently pushing our hands into our hands, coming up into cobra. And then up to downward dog, either directly or to tabletop, and then to downward dog. Whichever works best for you. And we'll pedal out here for a moment. And bringing our right knee to our right elbow, pushing off with our left toes. And then back again to downward dog, and walking out. And then again, right knee comes to the right elbow, pushing off with our left toes. And then back to downward dog. And walk your dog. And then we'll take our right foot, bring it between our hands, coming into runner's lunge. So inhale, lifting your right foot, bring it all the way up, coming into runner's lunge. And then once you're nice and stable in this pose, we're gonna push down our right foot, lifting our left foot, bringing our left foot side by side, coming into forward fold, and sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. And then we'll bringing our pinky toes to the edges of the mat, tucking our heels in again at 45 degrees. Hands come to heart center, Anjali Mudra. And then we'll lower our hips down to the mat, bringing our torso between our legs, elbows on the inner part of our knees. And then you can just relax here, or if you like, you can bring your hands down toward the mat, creating a little bit more stretch. And then we'll bring our sit bones down onto the mat and come into staff pose. So staff pose is an active pose. You can ball up your fists and push down, lifting your hips up, bringing them back down. Get that nice alignment, feel with your sit bones and your glutes in the right spot. Toes are pointed up toward the sky, flexing our feet. This is a staff pose, and we're going to do a seated head to knee here. So I'm going to bring my left foot and place it on the inner part of my right thigh. So my legs form a figure four. And then I'm going to walk my hands down and again find that sweet spot. So as I walk them down, I'm going to inhale and then exhale. And you'll kind of come up with a rhythm of inhaling on the walk and then exhaling, lowering your head toward your knee. Inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. And please feel free to bend your knee. It doesn't have to be flat on the mat with your toes flexed. Whatever works for you to support your lower back. And once I get to my feet, then I kind of hold on to my toes and continue on with my breath of inhaling. And then on the exhale, just gently again lower my head toward my knee. And then we'll walk our hands back. And we'll do that on the other side. And we back the staff and then bringing our right sole of our foot against our left thigh. Legs are in a figure four. We'll walk our hands slowly down toward our foot. And continue with the inhale, stretch, exhale to release and lower. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, release and lower. Till you come to that spot where you feel it's right for you today. And then we'll walk our hands back up and extend both feet back to staff pose. And we'll do that with both legs down. And again, you're welcome to bend your knees. Just be mindful of your lower back, how it feels in this particular pose. So you can again walk your fingertips down to your feet. And then inhale and exhale, slowly releasing your head toward your knee. And then slowly walk your hands back up again. And we'll lower down, roll down to the mat. So you keep your legs again in staff pose, and then send your arms out and just slowly lower one vertebrae at a time. And then bring your knees to your chest and give them a nice gentle hug. And rock your lower back, giving your back a nice massage. That feels good. And then we're going to bring our feet back down to the mat, keeping them about hip width apart. Our knees are going to be parallel to one another with a space between. We're going to go into bridge pose. So arms are alongside, palms down to help support us. Shoulder blades are nice and snug in the mat. And keeping our legs parallel, we're going to tuck our tummy under and pushing our feet into our feet, lifting our hips up toward the sky. And then slowly lower down, feeling that connection of your vertebrae against the mat, just kind of giving your spine a nice massage on the way down. We'll do that 2 more times. So inhale, pushing into our feet, lifting our hips up toward the sky, maybe coming up a little higher, and you can try to roll your shoulders under just a skosh. And then slowly releasing back down to the mat. And one last time, pushing down to our feet, lifting our hips up toward the sky. This time you may want to interlace your hands behind your back and roll your shoulders under. And then slowly release your hands and slowly lower your spine back down, feeling the connection as you go. And keeping your legs where they are, hip width apart, we're going to do a few somatic windshield wipers. So bring your arms out to about shoulder height. And then just drop your knees to the right side. We're going to turn our head gently to the left and have our left palm facing upward and our right palm facing down. And the hands are going to become little flippers as we move our legs. So inhale, lifting our legs back up, bringing our head back to center, lowering our legs to the left. We turn our head to look at the right hand and flip our hand so the right hand's facing up and the left hand's facing down. Inhale, lifting our legs back to center, head comes back to center, knees go to the right, head gently goes to the left, left hand goes up, right hand faces down. And again, knees back to center, head back to center, knees go to the left, head gently goes to the right, right hand flips up, left hand flips down. And just a few more of these at your own pace, kind of getting that nice feel of the flow. And inhale when you're lifting up, and exhale as you lower down. And bringing your knees back up to center. Your head comes back to center, and we'll send the feet down to the bottom of the mat and prepare for Shavasana, which is a totally replenishing pose. people often think that Shavasana is all about the meditation part of yoga, which it can be used for that, but it's more about just having your body replenish after all that activity. And I liken it to, and don't want to offend people who don't eat meat, but when the chefs always say to let your protein, which your body is full of, rest, and all the juices will go back in. So when you're cooking like steak, you're supposed to let it rest like 10 minutes or so. I forget the time, but that allows all the juices just to kind of go back and replenish, basically, the steak. We could just relax here in Shavasana, just release into the mat. And this morning I have a poem for you by Sarton. She's an author that I used to read quite a bit years ago. And this is a poem I came across recently called Snowfall by Sarton. With no wind blowing, it sifts gently down, enclosing my world in a cool white down, a tenderness of snowing. It falls and falls like sleep, till wakeful eyes can close on all the waste and loss, as peace comes in and flows, snow dreaming what I keep. Silence assumes the air, and the five senses all are wafted on the fall to somewhere magical beyond hope and despair. There is nothing to do but drift now, more or less, on some great lovingness, on something that does bless the silent, tender snow.